Talk. This is SingTalk Radio.
Hello and welcome to another episode of SingTalk Radio. I am Dave Stroud, voice coach here in LA, and this is my lovely wife / co-host Shannon, and my lovely boyfriend / co-host Joe. And today's guests are my good friend Ryan from Canada. Ryan, you have a last name?
Luchuck.
Luchuck.
Yeah.
And my good friend Ingo from Salt Lake, who also has a last name, which would be Titze.
Like pizza.
Right. So today's episode is really centered around the science of voice. And as you guys know, Shannon and Joe are both comedians. And so don't be offended if things take a comedic turn.
We're just silent the whole time.
I hate laughing, so I will be offended.
Yeah. But I wanted to bring in some of our conversations about voice, some of the depth of the research that's going on. There's nobody on the planet that knows more about the research and the cutting edge of what's happening with voice than Joe.
Yeah,
And
This is true.
as we all know.
wait, I mean Ingo, sorry.
Oh.
So I wanted to get into some conversation with Ryan. I know Ryan and Ingo have been working together for the last probably like a year or so.
Year and a half.
Yeah. And we've had Ingo at many of our events. And Ingo, I mean, you know, we've got your bio and all that sort of stuff, but give us a little short rundown on you and why so much energy, time, and resources have gone into the research you've done.
Well, all my life I've been on sort of two parallel tracks, and you know, I'm a World War II baby, and grew up in Germany after World War II, and we didn't have much entertainment other than to listen to radio, and so I was introduced to a lot of singing on the radio, opera and whatever lieder and other styles that were available at the time. We became immigrants from Germany to the United States in 1955. And my father wanted me to pursue a scientific career, and so I did. I did all of my formal education in engineering and physics, but and then I went out to work into some various private companies, including Boeing Company and North American Aviation and others. But nothing ever satisfied me because I was taking voice lessons, and all day long my mind was just on the voice. I had to figure out what was going on in there. And so at some point I decided if I'm going to run these two parallel paths, I've got to put them together and make one work for the other. And so I went back to school and got a PhD in physics, particularly in acoustics. And from then on it's been nothing but a journey of trying to figure out the voice.
I think you're probably the only person I know that has that story. Well, I mean, you know, I know a lot of people in the voice research world, you know, that we've met at the different conferences and things, but nobody has a physics background that I know of. I mean, everyone has sort of a ENT or a medical or a musical, like their degrees in voice pedagogy or voice performance or something, right? Do you know of anybody that has that?
Actually, no, and that's what amazed me, because all these years now, you know, close 50 years I've been working in this area, I always thought I'd have major competitors. Now, there are great scientists, physicists that are musicians. You know, we all know that Albert Einstein played the violin, and many have played other instruments, but I never found anyone that has taken on just doing the physics of the human voice. And so I guess I was lucky. You know, I didn't have a competitor, and that's probably because, you know, in post-World War Germany, voice wasn't that important. There were so many other things that people had to deal with.
You know, bombs, you know, little things like that.
Survival.
Yeah. So, a question about your voice teacher, especially the ones early back, you know, how do you feel about what you learned from them as opposed to what you know now? Did they stumble on the right things and they gave you the right things, or do you look back now and go, man, too bad they didn't know about X, which I've discovered? I mean,
they gave me all the right questions. They didn't give me the answers.
Right.
But they did give me the questions. And one of the real beauties of being in an area like voice research is that you can't just rely on your technical skills. You have to know what people are doing with that instrument all day long when they're professional singers or speakers. And so,
It's still
again,
an art,
it was a
yeah.
new learning experience to take lessons, and every time I got an explanation of this is how it works, I had to say, okay, what are the laws of physics that I know that might go along with that, or is it a bunch of baloney? And so every time I came to a lesson, I had new questions, and some of them were answered and some still aren't.
I'm curious about that. So when you decided to get into the field of voice research, I mean, what was that field like at that time? Was there a lot going on, or were you sort of pioneering a lot of this work?
It was mainly in the context of speech research, because obviously communication through telemeans is very important, and so there were a lot of engineers and a lot of physicists working on speech, understanding speech, transmitting speech, amplifying speech, modifying speech. And the voice part was a small component of that usually, because speech is more articulation based than it is vocalization based. But recently, I have to say, I've been aligning myself with people in animal vocalization. They're those who study, chimpanzee calls and rhesus monkeys calls and lions and tigers, and even more recently elephants. And I think I'm learning more about human vocalization by studying animal vocalization than any other means.
What does that mean? I mean, what are you studying? Are you studying like, oh, this sound means something, or are you studying what it looks like on this fancy graph thing, or?
Well, for example, right now, a study that I'm just about to publish with a veterinarian and a animal evolutionary individual is there's so much variation in pitch that all species give you that vocalize, and nobody's understood why 3, 4, 5 octaves can be produced by certain species when they have a small little larynx. And what is the variation in the structure in here that gives them this ability to produce wide pitch ranges?
It's the motion of the ocean.
Has anyone done any serious scientific work as to why Tony the Tiger draws out that R? Like, they're great. Do you think that has to do with the larynx, the size of it, or anything?
I bet
like
it's
that?
huge.
No joke, but when I used to watch Saturday morning cartoons, whoever's doing that voice knows something I don't. Because if I would try to do that, it'd be, they're great.
Yeah.
But he's clearly great going right up there. I said, what the hell is that guy doing?
He was your inspiration.
He
Does
was
he
my
put a
idol.
growl into it too? So it's great.
You got it. You are the scientist.
Now we know who Tony the Tiger was.
I'm so hungry for some Frosted
Ladies
Flakes
and
right
gentlemen.
now. But
Actually, I do know his name.
You do?
he
I actually
passed
trained-
away a
Of course
few
you do.
years ago,
Yeah.
didn't he? Unfortunately.
Thurl
Yeah.
Ravenscroft was his name.
Really?
Yep, Thurl Ravenscroft. He also did the voices at Haunted Mansion, and
Oh, really?
yeah.
At the Haunted Mansion?
He was also a singer. He was one of those like a cappella singers in a group in the 50s. Thurl Ravenscroft. Everyone, look that up.
Someone like Seth MacFarlane, and even on
Yeah.
YouTube, and you go and look at these guys that can imitate.
Yeah.
They go from sounding like David Lee Roth to Tony Bennett to
Celine Dion.
Hank
Celine
Azaria and those guys from The Simpsons. And
like. Does that just take in? How does somebody manipulate their vocal instrument to sound so much like? I mean, we all have these unique voices, right? You know, based on our structure and the size of our chords or whatever, that gives us the uniqueness. And then somebody like that sounds like...
when you have like Mr. Burns and Smithers having a discussion, and it's the same guy
It's the
doing
same
both
guy.
voices, you would never know.
I didn't want to tell you guys this. You're sitting with one of them right now. I can do that. You can just throw out a celebrity. I can do an exact impression of them.
Okay.
Throw one out. Go ahead. Party trick.
Seth MacFarlane.
All right. Hey, everyone. I'm Seth MacFarlane. Anybody
Wow,
else?
that's good. Okay.
I just got chills.
Yeah.
I'm
We
gonna
maybe
go-
better move on.
No, but one comment about that is mostly what impersonators do. They create a caricature of another individual, and it's not really that much identical to the other voice, but the very special features are what they hone in on. It's just like we create a caricature of someone's face. We make the nose longer or the eyebrows different or something, and everything else is in the background, and so that one feature comes out.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
That's
What's
the art
the
of
deal
that.
with that?
Are they doing that? Are they doing that mostly by shaping the throat
Tiger,
and the
tiger.
mouth, or is it something that happens at the vocal cords?
Mostly, I think in the back of the throat, the pharynx area, because the front of the mouth is for articulation, for making vowels and consonants, but the back is for producing different voice qualities.
Ah, so that's how Joe does
So
it.
so is that
I don't want to give away my secrets.
The
but
science
that's-
behind it.
Yep.
is that would you say that's healthy or unhealthy, generally speaking?
I don't know. I don't know if I can answer that. There's so many things that are claimed to be unhealthy that later on we find aren't necessarily so. I think all you could do is just watch and track somebody doing it for many years and see if they pay a price for it. But off the top, I would never call something unhealthy until that
had
evidence is there.
I got a question for you because Joe earlier was complaining. He was concerned. Actually, really was complaining about it. His voice. He's concerned that he might be losing it. In your studies that you've done on animal calling and stuff, or that's been done, do you find that like vocal health in general for humans is a challenge compared to other animals? Just in the speaking voice and how we use it.
Well, I think you and I have had a little conversation about that. I'm beginning to believe that if humans continue to just speak and never call and never sing and never really use the full size of their voice, they will eventually sort of deteriorate with that instrument. And we're starting to hear that now, that voices are ever getting smaller and smaller and lower in pitch. And so I think that's an issue.
Interesting.
Now, I have a real question, actually. None of this silly stuff that they're asking you. Have you done any work on this vocal fry that seems to be really big with women nowadays?
Oh, that's in my list of questions.
Oh, is it
Brilliant.
really?
Yeah.
There you go.
Joe's cheating.
So smart, this guy.
I actually looked at his notes.
Yeah, and there's been a whole wave of discussion about that on NPR and other places, and it's true. I hear so much vocal fry. And basically, vocal fry is when the larynx muscles are most relaxed. And I think it's a little epidemic of people not really using fully the muscles in their larynx and not using fully their pitch range, and it goes ever lower and lower and smaller and smaller. And they get away with it because it's amplified. They speak into a phone, they speak into their devices and so forth. And
You
so
sound
the communication
cooler and
is still
cooler.
there.
Yeah.
You get a little bit cooler every time you get lower and lower.
Yeah.
Is it more women or men who are doing this?
I hear it more in young women, but that might be because I was so used to, when I grew up, to hearing the sort of velvety, lighter voices in females. If you're Marilyn Monroe, for example, was the extreme case of that.
Edith Bunker?
And who? Yeah, okay. But now I hear, and it used to be that young females, 16, 17, 18, would speak very breathy and very high years ago. Now they've gone completely the other direction. They speak very unbreathy and very fry-like, and with lower pitch.
Well, it's a cultural thing that's been taking place maybe the last 10 years.
Somebody
right?
thinks it's sexy.
Totally.
I was going to ask Ingo, physically, how does lack of sleep and dehydration affect the voice? Because I think that's people watching in who don't sing, that's something that they need to know about too.
Well, lack of sleep obviously affects your ability to contract muscles and to coordinate muscles, and your reflexes don't work so well. And so it's just like with any other motor skill. If you don't get good enough sleep, the system will deteriorate. But I have to say this too, that for singers, sometimes less sleep is better than a lot of sleep. For example, if you have to sing early in the morning, and I sometimes have to sing in church, and that starts at 8:30 in the morning, 9 o'clock. If I get 8 hours of rest and get up, an hour before that, my voice is not at all ready. So what I do in order to get ready that early in the morning, I go to bed maybe an hour earlier, but I get up at 4. And I start warming up. And from 4 all the way to 8. So I need 8 hours of warm-up just to get my voice in shape that early in the morning.
Do you think it's part of it is also dehydration? The longer you sleep, your mouth, you're waking up a little dry mouth?
Yeah. That definitely is part of it. So, yeah.
You breathe through your mouth when you
That's
sleep?
how we sleep.
Apparently I do.
You do?
I don't know.
Does he snore?
I've been told. Do I snore?
Yeah,
Occasionally.
occasionally.
So I want to actually segue, because before Ingo leaves, I want to play something that I thought we had loaded up here.
Oh yeah, this is really awesome. Check this out.
So this is Ingo, and the reason I'm playing this is for 2 reasons. One is how great Ingo sounds, and 2, you guys need to check out what Ingo created here.
My guest performer.
It doesn't match. Oh.
Can you
His
guys?
name is
Can you make it big?
Pavarotti.
And this is in a 93, I think, 94.
Yeah.
Yeah. State-of-the-art monitor at
Wake
the
up
time.
now, Pavarotti. We have to sing. Pavarotti and I would like to sing for you the aria Nessun Dorma from Puccini's opera Turandot. I'm going to make it easy on myself. I'm going to sing the low notes. He'll sing the high notes. Take it away, maestro. My mio mistero è chiuso in me, il nome mio nessun saprà,
Some robotic hands going up now here.
Great.
So this is all programmed. Ingo programmed all this. That's not a real voice. That's a computer.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Molto crescendo.
So let's dig in that for a second, because just so you guys know, I mean, this is something Ryan and Ingo can go on and on for days about, but every vowel has to be programmed for its formants and everything else, and then of course all the pitch, and then he matches up with the simulation or the graphics. But
Yeah, you look at it, you think it's a recording in a video, but it's
Wow.
the tone is created from
the tone, the vowels, everything is something that is
through
that-
mathematics. Yeah.
Yeah, just numbers.
That's
So-
amazing. O's and ones.
So
Yeah, zeros and ones, basically.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, are you working
Yeah,
on
we-
other ones like Jose Carreras or anything like that, or seen other?
Well, I've listened to him sing a lot. You have to realize that I don't have a technical team. You know, Lucas Enterprises and Disney, they can hire 25 people to do something, and I have a student here or there, and just to program that little bit that you've seen, it took like 100 pages of code
Wow.
to bring it in, and basically Brad Story and I worked on that for 5-6 months just
Wow.
to program all the details of that. And as you said, it's all pure mathematics. There was no sound taken from anybody.
Wow.
It was just created from scratch, the way you bake a cake from scratch.
Amazing.
So that doesn't, when you first see that, you think, oh, that's interesting, that's cool. But when you start finding out, that is just somebody sitting there going, well, okay, so an ah vowel needs to be this, and the oo vowel needs to be this. And then taking that whole song, dissecting it, and then putting that back together.
Yeah, amazing.
That's pretty amazing.
And you were saying, Ingo, how, correct me if I'm wrong, when you were programming in the vibrato, if it was too steady, if it was too regular, something wasn't right. It didn't sound human.
Exactly. Well, first of all, I wanted to outdo all of the great tenors by singing that high B natural longer than anybody's ever sung it. And I made it 22 seconds long, and no one's ever held that long. But when I then listened to it, it was really boring to hear the same note for 22 seconds. And so I had to do something, and I realized that, well, vibrato is not totally regular. There is variations in that. It fades in and out, and sometimes the excursion is a little bit wider, sometimes a little bit narrower. And so I had to literally use random numbers basically to vary and put a little tremor, if you will, into the vibrato. And then it was worth listening to.
Yeah, it started sounding a little more human.
Did PAVA Roboto, what was his name?
PAVA Roboto?
PAVA Roboto?
Is that what it is?
Mr.
PAVA
Roboto.
Roboto. Did he have groupies? Like, were there people waiting backstage for him? And
An iPhone backstage, so giddy.
Winking.
Sign my off button.
Backstage, I had my good colleague Brad Story, and we had a little TV monitor, and I was performing on the stage live with the pianist. And of course, here's the monitor and the robot. And the robot was totally controlled by Brad behind stage with an audience in front. And we had really no good way of communicating to each other. So everything was guesswork in terms of when he would hit return in order to get the next sound out that matches what sound I was making.
Can I ask where PAVA Roboto is now? Is he like a butler in your house?
He's behind me about 20 feet.
Really?
And
he follows
it's
you
just
everywhere.
Basically a museum piece right now. I mean,
he's just always
we
there.
tried to work in motors and all sorts of controls to get the arms to move, and at one point he lifts a hanky and all sorts of stuff. But as I said before, we just ran out of energy and time to do this in a way where
your Imagineering team isn't that large.
It's a little difficult to get government funding when you go, well, but look at the handkerchief.
yeah,
they're
there
going,
you go.
So I have a question. About something that you said when I was at that the symposium that Ryan put together in Toronto. That's been in my brain since then. There was a thing you said up there when the cricothyroid gets worked, that tissue is developed from the ends of the cricothyroid and it comes and meets in the middle. Did I get that right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So what is the tissue? Is the tissue just more soft tissue that's growing or
fibers? They're mainly called, and this mainly happens in the vocal ligament. It's a strand of dense collagen fibers that grow from the endpoints. They're called macula flava, if you care about that.
I do.
And then the more you stretch that ligament, the more it reinforces itself with more density of collagen fibers. We have these ligaments all over our body. You know, people always break their anterior cruciate ligament in the knee in sports. And that's one of the ligaments that holds the knee in place. And so a lot of tension can be put on these ligaments. And for high notes, you need to have that strong tension on the ligament.
So the more you, so putting into daily layman's terms, the more you practice your voice, the more fiber you've created, which gives you the ability to contract, to acquire more high notes. And so in other words, range is developed by daily practice or whatever that grows that fiber.
Yeah, the data are sparse on that, and so I have to be cautious about saying that this is absolutely so. The only thing we know is that there have been children that have never spoken after birth for several years before they died with cerebral palsy, and they did not have the same ligament structure that other children develop at that same age.
Yeah. And as they start to use it, do you start to see it grow? I mean, putting it in terms of a singer, there's not been any real research done to show like how much practice brings this fibrous material in that then translates to more range or more control or whatever.
Well, you'd have to do a biopsy, and nobody wants to do that. No singer will ever give you a piece of their vocal fold to look at.
Any volunteers here? Anybody?
So, but we're getting we're getting better and better with MRI imaging, where you can see layers of tissue reasonably well by non-destructive kind of looking at it. But that's still very much in the making.
Well, it goes back to what Ingo's been talking about a lot, on how speech is not the best way for us to use our voices. So we should all be singing
constantly.
Everybody. Yeah.
Joe,
give us something, Joe.
Joe, what are you working on?
Stretch your your vocal folds right now. Use your cricothyroids.
Well, give me something to talk about.
I think you're giving us plenty to talk about.
I think I'm giving you a lot. So speaking of, can I see Mr. PAVA Robotic? Is he behind you right there? Oh no, it's just a boring chair.
That's what's left of him.
Well, his
he looks a lot like a plant.
He comes around the corner with like a cup of coffee.
Low, and all of there is just a monitor at the moment. So, and we'd have to turn him on in order to see the face and everything.
We'll add him in digitally after.
But there is a version on YouTube. You can see what he looks like.
He's become an addict.
Yeah.
He's had a rough career and late in his life. Yeah.
He lost his agent and things have not been good since.
Yeah.
He's such a what do you call a male Devo, right? Would they call Pavarotti a Devo?
Yeah, if diva is a female singer, what's a male singer? Is it Devo?
Yeah, well, you got three guys. They're called Il Devo.
That's true.
They sing great stuff.
Yeah.
They're the ones that do Whip It, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, all right, so
I got another one. So, we got you before we lose you. So, one of the things that you've talked to me about with a lot of passion is that you want this information to be available to everybody and not just people in universities. So, can you tell us a little bit about the PAVA organization that you founded last year?
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you for asking that. Yeah, the Pan American Vocology Association was founded now about two and a half years ago for the express purpose of getting more information about voice to the public, but particularly to those who are singers and singing teachers. And so we right now have 9 committees that are working on different aspects of this. Some are working directly on outreach little programs, much like you guys are with apps and with video clips and so forth. The committee I'm leading has to do with the topic of general health and vocalization. We want to find out if you vocalize a lot, does it stabilize your heart rate? Does it produce more hormones for better health?
Overall health.
And if you're rattling your head with vocalization, does that help your brain? And just a whole lot of questions that we have about what would happen if humans were no longer to vocalize, if we became mute. Would that have a profound impact on our general health? That's one of the things that we're interested in.
Well, does that help too? Like, because you were saying before that it's hard to get the government to support studies on singing. But the more you can prove that, the more interested they are in giving up some cash. Yeah,
I've never gotten a grant from NIH directly on singing. It's always a spin-off from something having to do with speech. And so we get a little from it, but it'd be nice to have that as a backup.
Because we all feel better when we sing, right, Shannon? Shannon was singing some Gloria
Constantly.
Estefan earlier.
Fan.
I pronounce it Estefan.
Is it Estefan?
but-
Oh, excuse me.
Estefane, but that's
Excuse
neither
me.
here nor there.
I'm gonna revert back to the question from before. You've talked about creating a simulator that would then, if somebody walked in your studio, you could simulate them and say, if you study or develop your voice, this would potentially be what you could sound like.
Yeah, that's been a long-term goal of mine. And I don't know what the final shape will be. It'll probably be on somebody's laptop or a handheld device. But basically, if we give enough information, for example, we take a picture of their mouth and we measure. Maybe we can get them into an MRI machine if that's cheap enough and easy enough in the future. And so we have their basic vocal tract shape. And then we can work backwards and use a sound of theirs and characterize basically their airway and what their current sound is with that configuration. And then we could go ahead and say, well, what happens if you, create a vibrato? Maybe it's a voice without a vibrato. And what if it's too much vibrato? And how can you put ring into it? And how can you make it raspy or rattly if you want to do that, or growly? So we could explore all of these dimensions of the voice ahead of time and say, well, your voice would sound like that if you had that skill. And then we can go to work and give them the training to do that. That's kind of the hope.
Yeah.
Taking a lot of the guesswork out of training, and that's one of the great things about working with you, Ingo, for my own teaching is at least there's a much lower percentage of guesswork than there used to be. But it sounds like where you're going with that research will, cut that number down even more.
I think they do that for hairstyles. Like you can put your face, they're like, this is what I'd look like with like a red afro. Or this is what I'd look like.
Or babies, right? Take the mother and the father.
Oh yeah,
Oh.
at carnivals.
Yeah, pretty accurate as
Is
far
it?
as I know. Yeah. I don't think
Scientifically
so.
accurate.
That baby has a beard.
It's not
That's not
mine. I just want to say, because I know, Ingo, we've really held you over. I know you're supposed to have been home like right now. So it's very nice of you to stay on and chat with us. There's so much more I want to go into. I mean, Ryan's got a whole list of things to talk to you about, and I could go on forever. But we want to invite you back. I imagine we could do 2 or 3 episodes with digging into it and slowly getting deeper. I wanted to get into a little bit of some of the spectrogram stuff, but we can do that. We can let Ingo head, and then Ryan will grill you on that sort of stuff for a second. Is
Sure.
that cool? Any parting words, Ingo? Thank you so much for doing this. Anything you want to, any appearances? Are you going to be on the Tonight Show soon, or what appearances have you got coming up?
Not appearances, but my next trip is to Chile, Viña del Mar on the coast, and we're going to have a conference there on voice.
Wow.
And that's in March?
That's coming up in about 3 weeks. Yep. And then after that to Portugal. So, no, I'm not going to be on the screen much, but in the airplane too long.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
When are you going to be back in LA? Whenever we get you?
Yeah. Well, we have to fit that in somehow.
We have this summer program coming up in July, so we got to fit you in there.
Well, let's see what happens there. No, my parting thoughts simply are that you guys are a class act. I appreciate always getting a chance to talk with you.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate, listen, I appreciate you saying that about us for one, but I appreciate all the time that you've committed, and you've come to our winter retreat, and you've come to our summer programs, and you're, participating in the symposium that Ryan put together in Toronto. And I think just the more people can sort of understand the research and the commitment that the life commitment that you've made to voice research and the health.
And the passion that he still exhibits. We should put in a plug for 2 of Ingo's books, especially of people who are watching this who really want to know a lot about how the voice works, principles of voice production, and vocology. And this, of course, that's just skimming the surface, but highly recommended.
Although the Fascinations is a really good book.
That's a really good. That's a good one to start with. Actually,
I think
good starter. Yeah.
I think for a lot of people who are watching this, that's where you should start, is watching. Read that book. So. Anyway, we'll let you go and not hold you up any further, and we're going to grill Ryan on a bunch of things. In fact, we're going to grill him, and then I'm going to send you the video, and we're going to see how accurate he is on his answers.
Wow.
Okay.
And you can reprimand him publicly. Anyway,
well, thank you again, and have a good day. Aloha.
Aloha.
Thank you. We'll talk to you soon.
Take care, Ingo. He's so sweet, and he's anytime you work with him and talk with him, he's such a he knows so much, but yet he's always so humble and is always ready to say, I'm not 100% sure about this, and so he's never ever misrepresents anything, or he'll always tell you where it's at. I think this, but we don't quite know yet, which there's tons of that in the voice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
not a
mean,
lot of
people
ego.
always go, yeah, this is it. This is the facts. Live with it. Don't question me.
Yeah.
So now we're gonna shift here a little bit, because now we have Ryan here, and we pulled up a spectrogram.
Ryan hasn't been here the whole time, but he's here now.
Hey guys.
Hey,
It's great to
Ryan.
be here.
Ryan,
What's
wow.
going on here? This
Nice
is
to meet you.
When did you
normally
get here?
I sleep in this room, but you guys set all this up.
So this is a spectrogram. What I want Ryan to do is explain a number of things that we're seeing here.
This is my bank account, actually. You go to the next slide.
Next slide. All right. So what are we looking at, Ryan?
Well, this is a spectrum analyzer. This is showing us a couple different things. So it's measuring the sound of our voices right now. And on the left, you're looking at amplitude, or if you want to think of it as power or volume. And on the bottom, we are looking at frequency. And so this is showing us sine waves, essentially, of sound. And here...
So show us what we're seeing here, Ryan.
Okay. So that gorgeous baritone voice that you just heard, that was Dave Stroud. And so we get to see what we're looking at are the different components of that sound, and those are called sine waves. Or people will also call them harmonics in this case. And so each line that goes up like that is a different sine wave, and they're part of the sound that Dave is making. Feel free to chime in with what the hell are you talking about anytime.
What the hell are you talking about anytime?
And so we measure this because we can measure voice habits and see what a singer is doing sometimes by how much power there is in different sine waves. Let me try this. Ah! And so you can see that first big little thin peak there. Let's call them peaks. That's the actual note that I sang. And then what we're reading is parts of the sound that exist above it, but we don't necessarily register it as the note. What we register it as is character.
Can I try it?
Yeah.
I'm a beautiful model.
No, it didn't really. I thought it'd be off the charts, but
It's off the charts, but not this
it
thing.
was just
Not the
yeah,
one that
Dave
this was
was. I mean,
measuring.
Ryan's was so impressive. It was like when you guys see it, mine just looks.
Looks like noise,
It looks
sort
really
of.
sad.
Yeah, it looks
Yeah.
really awful.
Well,
I thought it was gonna
actually-
go like all over the place. and-
Actually, do that again and hold a note in that character voice.
Oh, okay.
I'm a beautiful model.
Okay. Nope. Still, it actually spells out the word annoying. Actually, which is really weird. I've never seen a sine wave do that before.
So take that same idea, Ryan, on those same pitches with a clean sound.
Okay. I'm a beautiful model.
That was so impressive. Look at that.
But look at the difference in
Yeah.
the noise and the different between those two screens. So explain. I want to capture a couple of vowels and have you show us what that looks like.
Sure. So yeah, we can actually see using this tool what vowels look like, because our ear hears vowels based on certain frequencies that the throat and mouth in particular are naturally resonating. And so speaking of your fry, Joe, from before,
Yeah.
this is how we measure it. So just watch the difference, and you're going to see these peaks, and those are the frequencies that my throat and mouth are naturally resonating. Ah. So that's what an ah looks like. Now look at the different shape when I do e. Totally different.
Do an ooh.
Ooh.
I'm getting turned on.
Well, you were genetically designed to respond to that
Yeah.
for mating and such. So there you go. You can see that vowels look a little bit different on here. Why that's important to us as voice teachers and singers, because we can play with getting the notes that we sing to kind of match up with these natural peaks that the throat and the mouth, or what they call the vocal tract, is resonating. And when we do that, we get this feedback of power to the vocal folds, vocal cords. Makes everything easier.
All right, so sing. We're gonna just stick with an ah for a second.
Okay.
Sing an ah, and So there's your. What is this called? What are these?
So those are called formants, and they're peaks of. They're frequencies that your vocal tract is naturally resonating. Formants. That's a term that's
vocal tract.
Yeah. So
maybe that's where you get it from. Across. Not a vocal tract.
I can't say the word across.
did I say it wrong?
No, you said it right.
No, you're correct.
Okay.
Oh,
so
Dave's wrong.
Dave says across.
I can't say the word across.
I think
everything comes out.
I
across.
do love that you're using this show as a platform to
just abuse
knock
Dave.
him. I think that'll be appealing to listeners.
This reminds me of the giant pile of laundry that hasn't been done yet.
Anyway,
we'll talk about that
Form
later.
it in the laundry room. All right. So sing ah, and I want to watch the harmonic cross the formant.
Okay.
Oh,
So
there it
are we
is.
going to do a glide here?
Did I say cross?
Uh-huh.
There it is.
so good. It only annoys me.
Grammar
Do it-
police over here.
Do it on ah though to match the.
So are we doing a pitch glide?
Yeah. Come back down. So do me a favor. Just stop right when you feel it shifting from chest to head.
Okay.
Come down.
Oh, okay.
But stay on top. Still in head. Come down a little more. Right. Okay, so that peak right here, when this peak here, sing the ah on that same pitch.
I don't remember what it was. What I was just singing?
Yep. Okay, stay right there. So, when that peak goes to the right of that blue line, that means he's in head voice. Do that again and just take it slowly through that area. Now he's in head voice.
Unless I change
The formant.
the spot where that the blue, if I can actually move that up.
Well,
But-
let's assume
we'll
you're
get to
keeping it
that.
static
Yeah.
because otherwise it gets too complicated.
That's graph 201.
So
We're not
let's
ready.
do E.
Okay.
Oh, right now, right here in front of everybody?
Yeah, in front of everyone doing E.
Radical. I'm going to need some water and some music.
And a glow stick. I'm going to blow a whistle.
All right, go do it.
Okay.
Okay, cross it. Back. That's good.
Okay, so this is ooh now, so we'll see if we get the same effect.
This
here.
is the
Okay.
ghost sound, so you guys, the other two
Okay.
were not. Go below. We do have to explain a little of this, or this will just be this weird graph on the screen.
Too late.
So, as a singer, Ryan, so
Yes.
the reason I had you do that is just I wanted people to see that transition. So when you have the formant set and you sing and glide through that, and once that harmonic crosses back and forth, that is the thing that our ear hears as chest to head, right?
Yeah.
Well, even though physically we're also
There's also changes going on too, but yeah.
but so
When you
as
can
a-
look at it on the graph and you can measure what you're hearing. Yeah.
Okay, so as a singer and a voice teacher, why does that matter to you?
That matters because tying into what Ingo said earlier, that most people have very little coordination. So they're coordinated in this much of the voice, but the songs they want to sing use this much of the voice. And so we've got to work at getting over that hump continuously and build all kinds of coordination and skill so that people can, we can justify our rates.
Except go back further. So
Okay.
So why does it matter that there's a transition? And because you were told for years when you transitioned from low to high, it had nothing to do with the invisible of the spectrogram or acoustics. It had everything to do with a muscle that was zipping up or something. So
You told me that, I think.
yeah, it might have been me. But why does this matter if we go back further and go, Well, there is a change that happens from low to high, right? Like, I mean, we could pretend that doesn't happen, but any singer knows it happens. And then we put it on the spectrogram. You can see that there's something happening. But why does that matter to you as a singer and a voice teacher?
Why does it matter that I can see it, or does it matter that we're acknowledging that it exists?
And what kind of a tool is it? Why does it matter that you now understand that and that it becomes a tool?
Without exaggerating, if we're not aware of this, whether we're looking at it on spectrum analysis or not, or whether we call it something different, if we're not aware of this, we're essentially sabotaging our singer's ability to access their entire instrument. Because over time, you want to develop the kind of range in terms of pitch, but like a really consistent tone all the way up and down so that you can sing anything you want. And if you don't acknowledge that this is there and work with it, you'll never do that.
So how does this affect the physicality of things?
So what happens is the vocal cords go from this kind of a position into more of this kind of position.
I don't know what that means.
So the vocal cords are opening and closing like this.
You should really study this, Dave.
So, Joe, I got a question for you. So how many times do the vocal folds open and close per second?
In centimeters or in diameters? I don't even know.
In liters. In liters.
I'm going to guess in a second.
Yeah.
This is like the jelly beans in a jar.
Oh,
wow, that's
pretty
good.
Really? I just made up a number.
That's like
it's actually my weight.
That's like
that would be
like
G
about a G
or something. About a G.
G4.
About a G is the name of my rap autobiography that I have. It's coming out next year, by the way. Hey, shameless plug. About a G.
Say your G and
don't get caught in any drive-bys before it comes out, because I really want to read it.
Okay, so explain that real quick. We're sort of got to wrap up here in a sec, so I want to get to.
So the vocal cords open and close depending on what pitch you're singing. If it's a lower pitch or if it's a higher pitch, they'll open and close faster. But when they open and close, there's also depth involved. So that strong sound that we think of as chest voice, has a fair amount of depth. What happens is as I transition into what people call head voice, the position changes and it starts to do this. And so our job as voice teachers is to reduce that as much as possible without any extra tension so that someone can go, and it still keeps a lot of the same characteristics on the high notes as it
when you're falling
has
off
on
a
the
cliff.
bottom.
You want to make sure that it transitions nice, because you don't want to.
That's what
I
we
mean,
do.
imagine
at
at the end of your life, you jump off a cliff and your voice cracks, and it's embarrassing. Oh,
embarrassing!
So
Can't do anything right.
No.
We work up to that moment, right? Right before death, you hit the best note of your life.
Yeah.
Like,
go out on a high note, right? That's where that saying comes
That's
from.
where
I'm
it
out,
is.
and I'm out.
That's what it says on your business card. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we got to wrap this up. We got to invite Ryan back, and we have to go in this deeper. And Joe's going, maybe we'll invite him. No, but we need to go into this deeper, because I want to actually have you next time come in and bring some vocal samples, singing samples, dig into what this looks like here, what you've learned from Ingo as far as how this matters in health and development. I mean, ultimately, what we want to do is provide singers with the most tools that they can possibly have to develop and become the person they want to be. I mean, we're talking the science and we're talking the fundamental, and then of course there's artistic and creative that we'll get at some point. But
this feeds everything else. This is the foundation, and people actually are singers. I find actually are pretty interested in it. I mean, I only understand it really on a surface level, compared to Ingo.
Yeah.
But it's been huge.
So let's wrap this sucker up, Joe.
Yeah.
Where are you appearing next? Where can people find you?
You can find me on my own podcast, Catching Up, available on iTunes and Stitcher and wherever you get podcasts.
Great.
I don't know.
Shannon.
Didn't I'm professional there?
You can find me in the back room of our house.
Doing laundry.
Doing laundry.
Oh, wow.
Or dishes.
And
aren't you working on some writing, right? Were you working on a script?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But
Come on, plug it.
By working on it, we mean waiting for it to be.
yeah, it's in this Hollywood hell thing.
Oh, I see.
yeah, gets caught sometimes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for coming all the way from Toronto.
Did Ryan give his plug?
It's great to be here.
Ryan, where are you going to be appearing?
Where are you going to be performing?
Well, I stopped doing improv a long time ago. I used to be the music director for improv.
Oh, no way.
But no offense, it was difficult to be in a room with 12 improv comedians at once.
Oh, it's
difficult to be in a room with one of them.
It's difficult to be in a room with two.
Yeah.
It really is.
Oh, this is very nice. This is relaxing. But
So
yeah.
you did the music for the improv show, like a long form kind of thing, or what?
Yeah, I just play the emotion, go digga-digga-din.
Yeah. Oh,
Or
nice.
Yeah, I think at the Groundlings they have a band that does
follow
in and
Joe
out
around.
of the scenes.
Yeah.
All right, everyone, we'll
I'm
see
not
you
gonna
next time.
contribute
We look forward to having Ryan back. There's a lot more to ask and to dig into, but for now, check out ryanluchuck.com.
And thanks to Dave's beard, because we
Yeah.
might not see it again.
And
Might not.
Ingo was his name-o.
Mo. All right, that's it for now.
Talk. This is SingTalk Radio.